This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
All right.
I really like that open, though. It's my favorite. It is the 7th of July, 2020. This is the 217 Recovery Podcast. My name is Corey Winfield. Joining me in the 217 Recovery studio at a nice 69 degrees is Marney Liston. Marney, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing well.
Good.
So, we watched a movie tonight. We're going to review that here in just a minute. We haven't really talked about the movie. It just ended. It's a very dramatic movie, and yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, though, we were supposed to talk about crocheting tonight on the podcast. Is a way to. I hate when people say coping skills, but more of a take your mind off of it, keep you sober. I think that's what we were kind of talking about. What happened was this was your guest, so I mean.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna have to set up for like another day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, that's how it goes.
I kind of got sidetracked. I had a lot of stuff that I've been working on.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
Yeah, speaking of that, you published a blog today that was.
I did.
Pretty intense.
Yeah, I've been working on that for a while. I've been trying to post my blog like every 2 weeks, but it's been more like every 3 weeks or so. I think about. I don't know. I don't really have like a deadline for that. But yeah. So I'm just doing it whenever it feels right. So I kind of will start on it and then work a little bit and then tweak it.
All right, well, back to
the
blog from today, though.
Yeah.
So you wrote about a relationship. It was like when you're in treatment and they tell you, write that letter to whoever's hurting you or whatever. Relationship's not good for you, kind of a breakup letter, as they'll call it. And they often tell you to do that for your drug of choice as well. But you wrote one, you sent it, and then you just kind of kept it in your email, and then you republished it in your blog today, kind of setting it up and then kind of finishing it after.
Yeah. Well, that is a common exercise that therapists or counseling staff will bring up in rehab that I've come across before in terms of like saying it's like a goodbye letter. And it can be to anything. First off, they do it a lot for your saying goodbye to your drug of choice. That's a pretty common thing that they do. This one in particular was a goodbye email is what it was that I had sent. And it was the original letter that I actually still had in my sent emails. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the things that we do to kind of sort through our emotions and our issues from our past, and how that sometimes those things that we bring up are painful at the time to think about them and to work through them, but it's a process. And at the end of it, it ends up being a positive experience for yourself. It's a moving forward kind of thing. And that's why I felt it was important for me to blog about it, because it's helped me, and it wasn't fun to write when I wrote it. That was actually a follow-up email from an original handwritten letter that I'd written in rehab, but I had to rehatch it after I was actually, because everything changes. Like as you continue to get more experience living sober, you look at things differently. You have an opportunity to kind of like slow things down and really kind of, look at yourself and look at the things that you've been through and how you handled them, and what you can't go back and change anything, but kind of acceptance is, I guess, a good word to use when you're talking about this kind of thing.
I just want to say real quick, if you haven't read the blog, just pause the podcast, go to 217recovery.com/Marney. I believe it's called Free Yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then come back and then listen to the rest of this, because I have some questions.
Yeah. It was more for me. I mean, that might sound kind of selfish, but
Well, that's
because
my question, though. Is because it is, like, I wrote one. I mean, a lot of people write them. Mm-hmm. I wrote one to a person that it wasn't even in my life anymore. But it was for me to let go of that and just to, okay, Corey, you're done. A lot of people don't mail them. A lot of people don't email them to the person that they're writing them to, which is, I think, pretty, not rare, but more often than not, they get burnt or they get thrown away or they get shredded. Mm-hmm. But you actually sent it?
I actually sent it.
You hand wrote it and then you typed it and then you sent it.
It was an email. This one, the one that I cut and pasted into the blog was an email.
Well, yeah, but I meant like the original letter. It wasn't handwritten.
This one wasn't handwritten. The one I first did, I did in rehab, and it was handwritten. But it was along the same lines, but probably a lot more discombobulated and probably didn't make much sense. Not that this one. I mean, if I had to do it over, I probably would have changed a lot. But I felt that kind of took away the whole purity of what it was.
But you thought, you know what, dude? You deserve to read this.
I did. I mean, you have to understand. You have to read it to actually kind of understand where the place where I was at that moment was what I had to write. You know what I mean? It was. I guess it was kind of like a lashing out somehow, in a way, but at the same time it was like voicing things that I had been thinking for, years and years, and kind of just laid it all out there. And
I could sense a lot of frustration when I was reading it. A lot of frustration. There were some jabs in there.
There were some jabs, yeah.
And I was like, yeah.
There were some jabs. I did change the name.
Yeah, how did you come up with the name Bradley? Did you
just because I've never dated anybody named Bradley. So.
But every other name you've dated.
No.
Chris's.
No.
Kevin, Stefan.
No, I don't know. It was just like, I don't know, a common name that.
Enrique.
No. Do you want me to change it to Enrique? Would that make you feel better?
Nah, I don't care.
Okay. No. Anyway, but I can't say it felt good to write it. There was a lot of emotions when I was blogging again about it, because I was once again rehatching something that was like somewhat of a closed door for me. But at the end, I feel good that I wrote it, just because I know that those are feelings, even just from talking with other women, and I suppose men too, more so women, I guess, but that, have been through the same kind of experience. And I've had conversations where we've, back and forth compared stories, and there's a lot of similarities. And so I know it's something that, people unfortunately can relate to. And, not feel so alone about the whole thing. So it's about, violence, and, it was, physically and emotionally, violent relationship. And so that's me kind of how I approached dealing with it, sorting through it, was putting it on paper or emailing, in this case, emailing it out.
It didn't sound like a fun relationship. I mean, just reading it, like when you said he kicked you out of your car, like you guys were living in the car or something. Mm-hmm. It kind of seemed like, and he kicked you out of the car. I don't know. Thank God I've never been in a relationship like that. But, I never physically or verbally, I mean, I don't know. If I was drunk, I don't know if I said I'm a real big smartass, so I might have smartassed somebody to where it was just so disrespectful, that you could kind of count that as abuse, I guess. But I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think I did, though. I hope to God I didn't. But just me being drunk enough was enough for most women to be like, all right, dude's not going to change. I gave him 4 years. He won't stop drinking. I don't know what to do. except leave and be happy myself. And so, but yeah, that relationship though, just from, what I read from your blog, again, 217recovery.com/Marney. If you haven't read it yet, go read it and come back and then listen. But it was kind of sad, and at the same time, I know where you are now in life, and you have goals, and nobody should tell you that you're a piece of garbage and that you're a loser and you're never going to amount to anything. I mean, it's easy for me to sit here behind this microphone and say, hey, if you're in that kind of relationship, leave. It's another thing to be in that relationship and be stuck, have that feeling of, I don't know what to do. Like you said, you've asked your parents or your family for money, friends, and he pretty much was like, hey, you need to ask this. And then, oh, okay, let's go get some drugs now, or, let's go get some alcohol, which is a drug. But I don't know. It's easy, like I said, for me to sit here and say, leave that guy or leave that woman, because it's a two-way street. It really is. But to be in that situation and feeling stuck and feeling like you need that person, or maybe that person needs you. It's kind of like the movie we are going to review here in a few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it was unhealthy to the max, of course. And it's crazy because stepping back and looking at that now, it's like, was that really me? Like, did I really live that? And I look at that, I say that about a lot of my life, and not just that relationship, but this in particular was, you combined alcoholism or addiction with abuse, and I mean, there's a lot of times that those overlap, a lot of times, more often than not. That's a situation, and you're not in the right mind frame to make good decisions about anything. And, when you feel so poorly about yourself and who you are and where you're at, and then you find somebody else who is pretty much the same and accepts you for being what it is you are at that moment, since you don't feel good about yourself, it's almost like the ball just keeps rolling like that. And it's hard to find that strength to leave because, they're okay with you being being an alcoholic. That's accepted. And so that's what I wanted to be at that time. And it's so sad for me to say these words out loud right now, but it was the truth. And, it took a long time, and it was a terrible roller coaster. And I had everyone and anyone that knew the both of us saying that this is a terrible idea, and, he's awful to you and he's not good to you. I mean, strangers that didn't even know, him or me sometimes would say, what are you doing? I had people calling the cops on him. I never called the cops. I never once did. It was always from somebody else, some stranger or a neighbor. And, and that wasn't enough, for me to say it was time for it to be over. And it's all fear-based, and it's the disease takes over in every capacity possible of your life. And so I guess normally on any other day I would be in tears right now, but I'm kind of a little bit numb to it at this time, just because I've been, going through this, writing all this stuff, and, writing that blog. It was kind of just like a deep breath and get it out. I mean, it's liberating, really.
Yeah. Let me tell you about writing a blog. I mean, I spent like 4 minutes on one yesterday and wrote it. And
I don't always take that amount of time.
But you were processing some things. And
it's funny because the majority of it was already done because it was just cut and paste. But
my blog yesterday
was from March. It was from beginning of March.
It was about how you taught me about myself a little bit more.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one.
I'm telling you, if you stop and just think, and it's okay to take a time out in your head. You know, you can still be thinking, but you don't have to blah, 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 and you don't have to act. You can